We begin with a look at the product packaging. We have the usual Corsair gaming black and yellow color scheme, with a large illustration of the keyboard and the company and product name. There is also the Cherry MX switch label on the front, which corresponds to the switch your keyboard inside uses, 𝐲𝐶 RGB in this case. There are two seals as well as a double flap on the side to help keep the contents inside in place during transit. Opening the box, we see the keyboard itself in a plastic wrap, with the keyboard cable in the cardboard cutout compartment above. The accessories are housed in separate layers of the cardboard packaging. We have two sets of accessories with the K70 RGB MK.2, and the first set contains the product quick start guide, a warranty guide, and a warranty note specific to Australia. The final accessory, also in a plastic wrap, is a removable wrist rest. It is completely made out of plastic with no reversible surface. It has a soft touch finish to its plastic surface. There are two clips on the back, and rubber pads keep the keyboard and wrist rest from moving around on your desk. This wrist rest is in a dark grey color scheme for the SE version of the Corsair K70 RGB MK.2 keyboard, and will be black for non-SE versions. We get our first look at the keyboard, and it is on the heavier side of average as far as full-size keyboards go. For one, there are a few extra keys. Secondly, there are also a lot of RGB LEDs, and the case itself is larger than average to accommodate everything. The extra keys include a profile switch, LED brightness toggle, and win lock on the left, as well as a volume scroll wheel alongside a mute button and playback controls in the top right corner. Let's also not forget the anodized aluminium frame that adds to the mass of the keyboard. The case is angled with a beveled edge as we proceed from the top to the bottom. The K70 RGB MK.2 from Corsair offers a more metal and less plastic experience, targeted at a higher price point. The K70 has always been a higher-end keyboard from Corsair with dedicated media controls and RGB backlighting, a feature for years now. This version uses of the new Cherry MX Speed Silver switch. The SE in K70 RGB MK.2 SE stands for Special Edition, and that usually comes at a higher price point than the more standard. Indeed, this version comes in a splendid silver that reminds me of the original Corsair keyboards. The numpad has secondary legends below the primary ones, with the alphanumeric section choosing to have them alongside instead. This, combined with the location of single legends being in the top center, is indicative of where the backlighting will be more uniform, and those at the bottom may not end up as bright as those at the top. The legends have a different typeface from all recent Corsair keyboards, which is due to the use of their relatively new double-shot injected PBT keycaps. Flipping the keyboard around, we see the usual certification sticker in the middle. There are 4 large rubber pads on the corners to keep the keyboard from sliding around on the desk, and 2 feet at the top open up sideways to optionally elevate the keyboard, and these feet also have rubber pads to ensure they don't scratch easily. We see cable routing built into the center section on the back, which is to be used for, say, a mouse cable, and not the keyboard cable, since that does not make any sense, nor would it fit. There are 2 cutouts at the bottom to install the provided wrist rest. Installing the wrist rest is very simple because of the plastic tabs that can be pushed into place in the cutouts. Once they click in on one side, do the same for the other, and it will remain in place during normal use. The keyboard has a non-removable cable coming out of the middle of the front, and next to it is a USB 2.0 pass-through port, other peripherals. or even USB drives can be connected to. As such, the keyboard cable is on the thicker side, comes braided in silver, black for the other versions, and terminates in two male USB Type-A connectors. Both connectors are USB 2.0 only, so be aware of this for the pass-through lest you expect USB 3.1 Gen 1 speeds from a portable drive. Also, the casing on these connectors is thick enough to where you may have a hard time plugging both into ports next to each other. The keycaps have an OEM profile, and the various rows are thus sculpted accordingly. They have a floating design, which allows for easier cleaning, but causes more light bleed, which may or may not be to your liking. Corsair did not include a keycap puller, which is mostly because there are no replacement keycaps, and the stock keycaps are very good to begin with. When first connected with ICUE installed and running, the keyboards light up in a spiral rainbow lighting effect, which is the default option in their basic lighting mode. The transition animation is smooth, and the effect is a good demo to also ensure the keyboards are powered on and working properly. Here are some more of the lighting effects demonstrated, making full use of the hardware and software alike. I think it is fair to say that not only will the stock keycaps on the K70 RGB MK.2 SE last longer, they will provide a brighter, arguably more impressionable backlighting experience as well. For those preferring not to use the software driver a lot, the onboard functionality with hardware playback comes in very handy. There are dedicated buttons for media playback, a volume mute toggle button, volume scroll wheel, lighting on and off button, win lock button, and profile switches, which allow users to switch between the three hardware profiles saved on the device itself. So while you will need the driver to make the most of the K70 RGB MK.2, especially to set up the hardware profiles, there is definitely scope to then use the keyboard as is. It comes with the Cherry MX Speed Silver RGB switches. This switch is based off the extremely popular Cherry MX Red RGB, but is modified to a pre-travel distance of 1.2 mm, as opposed to the 2.0 mm for the MX Red, with the total travel distance also reduced from 4 to 3.4 mm. I can say right away that these switches are not necessarily the best for touch typists. Indeed, designed with fast actuation kept in mind for gaming, the Cherry MX Speed Silver can actuate unintentionally if you like to have your fingers over the keys. This mechanism has since been used by other switch makers, including 𝐆𝐞𝐭 for linear, tactile, and also clicky switches with a shorter actuation distance. hardware profile playback, very good backlighting effects, dedicated media controls, and that fairly unique aesthetic also contribute positively on the hardware side. Their unifying software driver, 𝐈𝐧 has gone from strength to strength in many cases too. Indeed, it goes a long way towards making the keyboard such an attractive package to a wide spectrum of users. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and see you in the next video.